My wife's male assistant leaked company secrets. When it got out, he pushed me off the 4th floor, claiming I was overcome with guilt and tried to end it all myself. I barely survived. When I was about to expose the truth to the media, my wife secretly silenced me with some medicine. You have core technology and won't get fired, but he's just a college senior intern. If this is on his record, 4 years of study will be wasted, and he'll never find a job. There's a saying, once a teacher, always a father. He's the intern you mentored. Even a 3-year-old knows if a child misbehaves, it's the parent's fault. You taking the blame is only right. Listening to her twisted logic, I didn't get angry. Instead, I laughed and destroyed my phone with the evidence, publicly admitting my wrongs. She thought I was finally taking the blame, smiling as she gave me the antidote, promising to have a big healthy baby boy with me. But she forgot. For work convenience, I have a backup phone. It already recorded her and the assistant confessing their crimes. Once I make this public, they'll be swallowed by public opinion. They'll not only face immense compensation but lose their freedom forever, worse than death. If apologies were enough, why do we need laws? Do you realize how many competitors are after our silent profit project since the company secrets were leaked? Because of you, 100 people wasted a year of effort, and all the commissions for this year are gone. Henry tore up the apology letter in my hand, almost spitting in my face. He's my wife Lily's newly hired assistant, the person who almost killed me. Work has paused recently. There are no clients to deal with, and there's radio silence in the work group chat. I know, I've been isolated ever since Henry pinned the blame on me. The project team created a separate group, ignoring my work updates, and my colleagues turned a blind eye. This organized, premeditated action clearly aims to drive me out. I looked directly at Henry, calm and composed. If you want me gone, just say so. No need for shady tactics. Before he could speak, Lily walked over, her brows slightly furrowed. Bob, as a manager, you can't just quit whenever you like. That's childish. How are you setting an example? Besides, Henry is your protege. He wouldn't harm you. If it weren't for his pleading, you would have been fired. I couldn't help but laugh in disbelief. Wow, I sure have a good intern. He dared to push me off the 4th floor to silence me. If I hadn't survived by luck, he would have my position by now. Seeing my silence, Henry thought I was intimidated and started lecturing again. Bob, let's not bring up how you always targeted me and refused to teach me your skills. But now you've created such a mess and want to walk away. Because of you, project progress is delayed. Do you still plan to hide your core technology? Only then did I understand why, despite my huge crime of leaking secrets, the company didn't fire me amidst the public scrutiny. It was my core technology they wanted. Back then, this tech turned the company from a bankrupt software firm to a key partner for internet giants. My unique coding skills made my processing cost half that of others, yet much faster in operation. You could say this technology is my bread and butter. I chuckled, realizing their game. If you want my tech, just say so. Henry smirked, adjusting his glasses with fake self-righteousness. Not like you, all about self-interest. As long as it benefits the company, who cares who controls the technology? Catching up on progress and solving the problem is the main task. He made it sound noble, like he was doing the right thing. Lily agreed, looking at Henry with admiration. Henry's right, he's solving real issues, not like some people who just vent with every word. I almost laughed. Who doesn't want to solve problems? What matters is who has the solution and ability. Ultimately, he wants to disclose my tech because he can't learn it. I clearly remember when Henry first started his internship. His coding was full of errors and bugs, delaying project progress significantly. But Lily wouldn't let him go, constantly praising his determination just like I had in the past. To this day, his coding skills are undergrad level at best. Instead of floundering, he chose to make a grand gesture under his name to secure his position. If I don't hand over the tech, I'll become the project group's enemy. Sure enough, colleagues who played dead earlier put down their phones, urging me to hand over the core technology. Oh Bob, we're all just workers trying to get by. Why make it hard? Yeah, my family depends on me for mortgage and bills. Don't cost us our jobs too. Their complaints made me smirk. These people, many of them I brought into the company, even trained personally. Teaching them my skills was a gift, not a duty. Now, when things go south, they throw it all on me. Seeing no one speak up for me, Henry looked more pleased. See? Everyone's been upset with you for a long time. Plus, you've been blacklisted from the industry for leaking secrets. Only because Lily and I sympathize are we willing to keep you. If you want a job, hand over the tech. Maybe we can help you improve it. Seeing my dark expression, Lily came to my side, handing me a phone, softly saying, "Come on, Bob. Didn't your phone break before? I got you a new one. Don't stress too much. You can relax a bit, work behind the scenes later, and help me with the kids at home." Looking at her offered phone, my face turned cold. She recovered and polished the phone but forgot a reset. The personal hotspot was named after Henry. Clearly, this was Henry's old phone handed down last week. As for the kids, when she was down and out, I had already snagged a job at a big company with some nice tech skills, pulling in $1 million a year. To lock me in, she married me in a flash, even without her parents' blessing, and insisted we have a kid soon. So, to help her start her business, I gave up my promising career and quit to work with her. Once the company finally started doing well, she always had an excuse, saying things were unstable, we weren't making enough, and kids are expensive. She'd tell me to wait. But you never really make enough money, do you? Just felt like she was dangling a carrot. I rejected Lily's offer without a second thought. I don't like buying into other people's second-hand stuff. I placed my phone on the table and took out my backup from my coat pocket. Lily's face changed when she saw I let her down publicly. "Just 'cause you got a new phone, you're all that. Quit if you want. Just don't come crying to me when you can't find another job." I just smiled coldly, looking at my backup phone. Little did she know, it's not new at all. It's just my fallback. Plus, the recordings on this thing could ruin both her and Henry, causing them to face massive payouts and lose their freedom forever. With that on my mind, I headed straight for the courthouse to file for divorce. If you're cutting it off, might as well make it clean. But when my turn came, the clerk told me the divorce was already done. I was stunned. When did I get divorced? Check again. Maybe there's a name mix-up? The clerk looked at me like I was nuts. "You agreed to it 5 years ago, notarized and everything. Your handwriting's all over it. If you've lost the certificate, pay for a new one on the side. Don't hold up the line." That was right when the company got its first big funding and started taking off. I remember everyone was pumped that day except Lily, who seemed on edge and couldn't settle down, handling documents alone in her office. I thought she was just nervous about running the company, so I comforted her and quickly helped organize her paperwork before we went out on a date. In hindsight, lurking among those documents was probably a divorce agreement. Her anxiety wasn't about business. It was about worrying I'd split the profits once the company grew. Ironic, isn't it? For 5 years, I burned myself out for this company, dreaming about a stable future together. It's just so damn ironic. Since we weren't really a couple anymore, I figured I should pack up and get out to make a clean break. But as I got near our place, the acrid smell of smoke hit me like a brick, making my throat itch. Why was there smoke in our home? Lily absolutely hates smoking. Once, a couple of years ago in winter, I stumbled home a bit drunk and lit up a cigarette. It was snowing outside and freezing. She kicked me out into the cold, wearing just pajamas and slippers, saying I could only come back when the smell was gone for her and our future kids' sake. I even quit smoking, believing she genuinely cared about our future. And now the whole place reeked of smoke. Why? Opening the door, I saw Henry lounging on the couch, puffing away like it was nothing. And Lily, who always hated the smell, sat right beside him, laughing as they played games. The progress on screen was too advanced to be a first play. Whenever I wanted to game to unwind, she'd call me a slacker. Now, she was so into it she didn't even notice me come in. Her phone, usually glued to her hand, sat forgotten on the table, screen glowing with missed calls and messages. But she was too absorbed in Henry's world, reminiscent of our early relationship days back in college. Standing there, I watched them for a bit before I turned to pack my things. That's when Lily noticed me and froze. Henry looked over too, suddenly scowling. Great, you totally ruined our game. You strutted around the office like a big shot, but still came crawling back to Lily. Ignoring him, I started packing. Lily seemed annoyed. Bob, are you leaving? We've been together for years. Don't you trust me? Henry's toilet broke and he's new to the area. Letting him stay over is just one night so he doesn't get bored. I glanced at Henry's shirt collar, smeared with bright lipstick. Game my ass. Yet, even hearing Lily's flimsy excuse didn't stir me anymore. Yeah, I get it, I said, calmly continuing to pack. Realizing I was serious, Lily finally panicked. First you quit, then you're leaving. What are you doing? Explain, or if you step out of here tonight, we're done. We'll divorce. Her voice was firm, threatening even, but her lips curved with a hint of satisfaction. This was usually her magic card to make me back down. But not this time. This time it was different. I stopped what I was doing and pulled out the divorce certificate I had just got reissued that afternoon, tossing it in front of her. Lily, weren't we already divorced? Lily froze with the divorce certificate in her hand. You knew. Bob, it was just a safeguard. She tried to explain, but I couldn't be bothered to even look at her. I knew all too well why Lily did this. She was someone who always felt insecure. Maybe it was because her biological father abandoned her when he found out she was a girl, or because she grew up as the unwanted stepchild after her mom remarried, kicked around like a burden. Lily lacked love and felt a sense of detachment and suspicion towards everyone, terrified of forming close relationships. Until we graduated from college, I was her only friend, her only love. Ironically, her insecurity gradually twisted into a form of controlling obsession. From the moment she secretly had me sign the divorce papers for her own sense of security, the trust between us shattered completely. Thinking about it, I pulled out my wedding ring from my pocket. This ring I once treasured now felt like a cold stone in my eyes. I threw it on the ground and looked at Lily. Congratulations, your safeguard worked, I said, turning away without a second thought. Finally, I chose a hotel to settle down temporarily. Strangely enough, I hadn't even started looking for a job when a headhunter contacted me that night. Not only did they not try to lowball me because of the bad press, they offered me 3 times the salary I made at Lily's company. The only condition was that I bring my patent technology to prove my worth. I found it odd, but the contract looked perfectly legit. After thinking it over, I decided to go meet them tomorrow. The next day, I arrived at the restaurant at the agreed time. But I waited for a long time before anyone showed up. Before I could say a word, they stuffed a thick envelope into my hand. I opened it to find crisp red cash. Before I knew what was happening, a swarm of reporters descended on me. Camera flashes blinded me, and I realized I'd been set up. Sure enough, Henry and Lily also appeared at the restaurant. Henry, in particular, acting all heartbroken, pointed at me and said, I'm so disappointed in you. Why won't you change your ways? Leaking secrets was bad enough, but now you went and stole the company's core technology to sell it off. How could you do this after all the hard work everyone at the company has put in? How could you betray Lily's trust? Looking at the smirk in Henry's eyes, I quickly regained my composure. There were too many reporters. Clearly, this wasn't just something Henry, a small assistant, could arrange. I turned to Lily. You feel the same way? Lily bit her lip, then feigned a helpless sigh. Bob, just hand over the technology, she said. Heaven's watching, even if you destroyed all evidence of stealing the technology, you can't erase the crime you committed. In the end, she chose the cold, hard value of the technology over my innocence. Years of feelings couldn't compete with cold-hearted interests. To completely control me, to force me to hand over my technology, she left no stone unturned. The reporters, like sharks smelling blood, demanded answers. Bob, how do you respond to the company's allegations? Bob, did your relationship with Lily drive you to sell the core technology? It said that you divorced Lily for asset division. Is that true? Camera flashes erupted everywhere, microphones almost stabbing my face. Henry stood by with a smug grin. Bob, you're caught red-handed. What else is there to explain? I looked at them and unexpectedly laughed. Yes, I admit it, I said, my voice not loud, but enough for everyone to hear. Lily was stunned, not expecting me to admit it so easily. She was about to say something, but I pulled out a backup phone from my pocket. Under their shocked gazes, I turned the screen to the camera. But one thing you got wrong, the one trying to steal the technology aren't me, but Lily and Henry. Plus, no evidence was destroyed. It was synced to my backup phone all along. Now, it's time to show it to the world. Lily's face went stiff, like she'd been hit by a bucket of cold water, from her perfectly styled hair to her toes. The exquisite makeup couldn't hide her panic. She looked like a duck getting choked. Henry was initially stunned but quickly chuckled in disdain. "Bob, who are you trying to scare?" He walked over to Lily, gently patting her shoulder, and softly reassured her. "Lily, don't worry, he's just bluffing. His little tricks can't fool me." Henry leaned in close to my ear, speaking mockingly. "You think I wouldn't expect you'd try to fool me? Let me tell you, all the surveillance at the company that day, I've already dealt with it. Especially the stairwell cameras, that window's a blind spot. Couldn't have caught anything. Even if you've got a backup phone, what's on it? What could it possibly have?" Hearing Henry's words, Lily seemed to regain her composure, her face gradually normalizing. She took a deep breath and stood tall again. "Bob, haven't you had enough of this? Do you really think pulling this stunt will turn the tables? Wishful thinking. All you're doing is making a fool of yourself, humiliating yourself even more." She pointed at my nose, looking like she was disappointed in me. "Now hand over your backup phone and apologize to me, to Henry, and to the company. We might even consider signing a letter of understanding, not holding you accountable, giving you a chance to make things right." Her superior attitude was just laughable to me. I looked at her coldly and said, "Word for word, in your dreams." With that, I ignored them and played an audio file on the backup phone. I cranked up the phone's volume so everyone present could hear it loud and clear. "Henry, why did you push Bob? You clearly said you wouldn't kill him." Lily's voice came out of the phone, a hint of urgency in it. "Lily, relax. When have I ever lied to you?" Henry's voice followed, full of smugness. "It's just from the 4th floor. The most that could happen is some broken bones, nothing serious. But to be safe, you should head to the hospital and give him some throat medicine, make him unable to speak for a while. Once things settle, bring him back to the company. He'll fall in line and won't leave you." The recording revealed their entire scheme to frame me, exposing their evil plan and ugly faces to everyone. The room was dead silent. Everyone was stunned, unable to believe what they were hearing. Only the recording of Lily and Henry's voices echoed in the space. Lily's face turned as white as a sheet, and she lunged at me, reaching for my phone. "Bob, turn it off." But I was ready, easily dodging her attempt. The phone kept playing the recording, making their crimes known to everyone. Seeing she couldn't grab the phone, Lily tried to defend herself frantically. "It's fake. It's all fake. You think you can alter reality with a random recording?" She pointed at me, her finger trembling violently. I looked at her hysterical state, feeling the irony intensely. "Lily, are you still trying to deny it? If you're innocent, why try to grab my phone? If you have nothing to hide, why not let everyone hear the recording?" My words brought everyone back to their senses. "Yeah, the recording sounds pretty smooth. It doesn't seem fake. Plus, if it wasn't real, why would Lily be so agitated? Oh my God, that's too evil. Teaming up with another man to push her husband off a building, even giving him throat medicine." More and more doubts flooded toward Lily and Henry. Henry, realizing what was happening, immediately started acting all pitiful. He clutched his chest, looking heartbroken. "Bob, I've always respected you as my mentor. I can't believe you'd do this to me." He staggered, seeming like he was about to faint. "If I can't prove my innocence, I won't live. I'll die to prove my integrity." He moved as if to crash into the wall. The reporters nearby rushed to stop him, not wanting anything dire to happen. I must say, Henry's act looked pretty convincing. "Bob, are you sure you can back up what you're saying?" "Yeah, Bob, if you have more evidence, show it. Stop being so mysterious." Faced with their doubts, I just smiled calmly. "Who says I don't have more evidence?" Next, I slowly pulled a black bank card out of the inner pocket of my suit. This is the hard evidence. I held up the card, waving it in front of everyone. This card, I opened it 5 years ago when the company was just starting. I gave a supplementary card to Lily, telling her she could use it freely. Oh, the irony. Now it's the key to bringing them down. Amid the curious gazes of everyone, I pulled a stack of A4 papers from another pocket. It was the transaction record of this credit card. What's this? Proof of Henry accepting bribes. My voice was icy, my gaze sharp as a blade directed at Henry. It's thanks, ironically, to Lily's indulgence toward Henry. Despite being usually sharp in her lovelorn state, she slipped up. Over the past few months, Henry often tried to provoke me with intimate photos of him and Lily to purposely anger me. I accidentally discovered this card at Henry's desk, and it struck me as odd. This card was clearly mine, so why was it with him? Later, I discreetly checked the transactions and discovered this card had been used with the company leaking confidential information. It's like finding a hidden pearl in plain sight. If Henry found out that the evidence against him was handed to me by himself, I wonder if he'd faint right then and there. Seeing the transaction record and card I presented, a wave of panic washed over Henry's face. This is fake. Bob, you're framing me. Setting me up. Even as Henry tried to bluster, people could see the truth. The reporters started murmuring, their glances darting back and forth between Henry and me. That transaction record looks legit. Yeah, it's got the dates and amounts all spelled out. If it was fake, why would Henry react so strongly? Looks like Bob's telling the truth. Henry really did accept bribes. Who would have thought? Young Henry, but with a heart as dark as ink. Hearing the chatter around us, Lily panicked. She pointed at the bank card in my hand and shrieked, "This card belongs to Bob. He's the one doing shady deals in private. It has nothing to do with me and Henry. I'm calling the cops. I want them to investigate." As she spoke, she pulled out her phone to dial, just as sirens wailed closer. A few cops came in, heading straight for Henry. Seeing them, he looked relieved and rushed over, his face a picture of misery. "Officer, I've been framed. This guy's accusing me of taking bribes. I'm just a recent graduate trying to find a job. What did I do wrong?" He pointed at me, looking all sad and innocent. Watching his pathetic act made me sick. As the cops got closer, Henry struggled to keep his grin under wraps. Unfortunately for him, he was in for a letdown. The next moment, a cop stood before him, cuffs in hand, coldly saying, "Henry, you're under suspicion for attempted murder. You're coming with us." Henry was dumbstruck as they cuffed him, eyes wide and mouth agape like he could swallow an egg. "This can't be," he mumbled, as white as a sheet. Next to him, Lily freaked out even more. She rushed at the officers, grabbing one's arm. "Officer, you've got the wrong guy. No way he killed anyone." Her voice was all over the place, shrill like nails on a chalkboard. Couldn't help but smirk. "Karma's a thing. We got a call that Henry's suspected of attempted murder. He needs to cooperate with our investigation," the officer said, shaking Lily's grip off with impatience. "A call?" Lily muttered, turning to me with a hateful glare. "Bob, it's you. You called them, didn't you?" I shrugged, feigning innocence. "I didn't call anyone. I just gave them evidence." The officer added, "With Bob's evidence, we reopened the case, checked surveillance from the mall across the street, and saw Henry pushing Bob off the 4th floor. During a theft investigation, another team found the footage by chance while reviewing tapes." The cop's words hit like a bombshell, causing an uproar. "My God, there's footage. So Bob wasn't attempting suicide. Henry pushed him. That's terrifying. Henry's a monster." Henry collapsed, legs giving out. His face turned ashen and eyes hollow, like a soulless body. The police cuffed and led him away. Lily crumpled to the ground, lost and broken. Watching her, I felt no pity. She brought this on herself. By that afternoon, news had exploded everywhere. Public opinion flipped in a flash. Tons of people flooded the company's socials, tearing into Henry and Lily, a wolf in sheep's clothing, killing for gain. I felt sorry for Lily before, But now I see her true colors. We demand justice for Bob and punishment for the murderer. The company's account quickly got reported and shut down. Meanwhile, my lawyer was on this, gearing up to sue Henry and Lily. Watching all this, I let out a long breath. It was a rocky road, but justice was finally served. That night, after going out for dinner, I returned to find my house lit up. Strolling in, the delicious scent of food filled the air. Pausing, I traced the aroma to the kitchen. Lily was cooking, wearing a pale pink apron, sleeves rolled up. She was busy at the stove. Steam billowed from the pot as she cautiously stirred something. I rubbed my eyes, ensuring I wasn't dreaming. Lily never used to lift a finger in the kitchen. Forget cooking. She barely set foot in there. When we first got married, I handled all the cooking, while she just needed to look pretty and wait for me to serve her meals. Back then, that made me happy. Cooking for the woman I loved was a joy. But after Henry came on the scene, everything changed. She dashed to Henry's place under the guise of work meetings, mooching off his meals, constantly posting on social media about Henry's lovingly prepared dinners. Meanwhile, I'd come home late to a cold, empty house, no hot meal in sight. I ended up ordering takeout just to get by. Seemed like no one cared what I ate anymore. It's been a year since I've smelled cooking at home. And here was Lily, of all people, making it. I must be dreaming. She turned upon hearing my steps, a gentle smile on her face. Her tone, her demeanor, as if nothing happened between us and we were still a loving couple. Like it was all a bad dream. Smirking, I approached Lily. What's this act? She paused, smile faltering. Bob, I know you're mad at me. She set the spatula down, moving closer with a pitiful look. But Henry didn't mean it. He just acted in the heat of the moment. It was impulsive. Her voice cracked, eyes misty. Won't you forgive him for the sake of our marriage? As long as you sign the letter of understanding, he won't have to face any criminal charges. Listening to her, I couldn't help but find it absolutely ridiculous. Lily, are you out of your mind? I pushed her away and went to sit down by the couch. Henry almost got me killed. And you want me to forgive him? When you were drugging me, did you forget I was your husband? What gives you the right to stand here and bargain with me? The more I talked, the angrier I got, and my voice just kept getting louder. Lily was taken aback by my yelling. She bit her lip, and tears welled up in her eyes. Bob, I know I've done a lot to let you down before. But Henry, he really didn't mean it. He was just so scared of losing his job, he started acting desperate. She took a deep breath, like she'd made up her mind. If you promise to forgive him, I'll give you whatever you want. I can get you a raise, a promotion, shares in the company. I can even quit to stay home and have a baby if that's what you want. She looked at me, eyes full of hope. It was like if I nodded, she'd throw herself into my arms right away. Seeing her so humbled for Henry made me sick. The once high and mighty Lily, ordering me around, was now doing this. Letting go of all her dignity for a man and begging me. How sad. How ridiculous. I stood up and started packing my stuff. Lily, give it a rest. Whatever was between us ended a long time ago. All I want now is to leave you, to leave this place that disgusts me. I grabbed my suitcase and headed straight for the door. Lily panicked. She rushed over and grabbed my arm. Bob, where are you going? Go anywhere. Just don't leave me. I shook her hand off and looked at her coldly. Where I go is none of your business. Stay out of it. She was stunned for a moment, then suddenly pulled a paper from her bag and held it out to me. Bob, look at this. Do you really not care about the child? I froze. My steps suddenly halted. A flicker of hope flashed across Lily's face, as if she'd found a lifeline. Bob, listen to me. She stepped toward me, her voice trembling. I've been feeling unwell, nauseous over the past couple of days. Went to the hospital and found out. I'm pregnant. She carefully handed me the pregnancy test paper, afraid I'd doubt her. Bob, see, it's real. We're having a baby. She looked up at me, tears sparkling in her eyes, filled with hope. Even if it's just for the child's sake, can you give me another chance? Give our child a complete home, all right? She clung to my arm, as if afraid I'd run away. I looked at Lily, my feelings complicated. Honestly, I really like kids. I used to dream of having a child with Lily, our own baby. A cute little angel as beautiful as her, or as smart as me. I'd tell them stories, play with them, and teach them how to live. I'd give them all my love, be a good dad. Back then, I thought having a child would make our home complete. But now, looking at Lily's face, filled with scheming, I just felt a deep sadness. I stopped loving her a long time ago. Really bringing this child into the world would be the worst harm. Seeing my sullen face and silence, Lily thought I was wavering, taking the bait. Bob, just sign the letter of understanding, and I'll totally cut ties with Henry. I promise, I'll never see him again. She pledged passionately, almost swearing to heaven. I'll give you the whole company. Do whatever you want. I'll stay home, take care of the pregnancy, and have the baby for you, all right? She looked at me eagerly, her eyes shining. But that shine made me feel uncomfortable. Once, Lily was so kind, so innocent. When she first started working, she even felt guilty about exaggerating ads. Thought she was cheating people, and cried secretly in a corner. Back then, her eyes sparkled with hope for the future, a love for this world. But now, in those brief 5 years, she's turned into a woman who mercilessly treats an unborn child as a bargaining chip. Seeing me still silent, Lily got anxious, thrusting the crumpled understanding letter at me. Bob, sign it. Once you do, everything will be fine, she urged impatiently. I looked at the letter, finding it laughable. I snatched the letter and tore it to shreds right before her eyes. Lily, I'm telling you, stop dreaming. Henry's done for. Lily's eyes widened in disbelief. Forget it, Henry was right. He knew you'd never help. Suddenly, she calmed down, a hint of smugness in her tone. Good thing he already had a backup plan. Just some compensation. Give him the money, schmooze the right people, and it's over. She chuckled, saying, I've already sold the company. All the money's in his personal account now. Listening to her made my heart drop. Something's not right. If it's really to grease the wheels, why blatantly send money to his personal account? Before I could speak, there was a sudden, urgent knock at the door. Bang, bang, bang. Open up. Police. A smug smile spread on Lily's face. See, what did I tell you? She looked at me triumphantly, like she was showing off her victory. They must be here to release Henry. She rushed to the door and flung it open. A few uniformed officers stood at the door, serious. You all are here to... Lily's words were cut short by the police. Lily, right? Henry's suspected of assaulting an officer and escaping custody. He's now on the national wanted list. Any clue about him? No way. Lily muttered to herself, her eyes blank. I immediately realized Henry had taken off with the money. I quickly spoke up. Lily just transferred a big sum of money to Henry. That's probably for his escape. I shared everything I knew with the cops. My guesses on how Henry might have manipulated the company's accounts to transfer funds. The cops instantly radioed headquarters, asking for assistance to track the money flow. Through the static on the radio, a clear voice came through. Report. We've tracked Henry and his accomplices. They've fled to M City. Upon hearing this, Lily was completely freaked out. She grabbed her phone, frantically dialing Henry's number. Lily kept trying again and again, refusing to give up. Finally, on the 10th attempt, the call connected. Joy washed over Lily's face, like she had found a lifeline. Henry, where are you? The police are looking for you. Her voice was shaky, with a sobbing tone. On the other end, Henry's voice was impatient. Are you serious? I needed money. I made up some excuse to snatch some cash, and you actually believed it. Henry's tone was full of disdain. You lied to me. Lily's voice trembled even more. I was just stringing you along. Did you really think I'd be into someone past their prime? You? Lily was too angry to speak. Enough. Stop bothering me. I'm busy making my getaway. With that, Henry hung up the phone. She collapsed on the floor, her eyes empty like her soul had left her body. I was wrong. Bob, please forgive me. Her voice was hoarse, filled with tears. Bob, I'll never dare again. I'll marry you again and hand over the company to you. Okay? She kept bowing her head, soon bruising her forehead, blood running down her face. I watched her without feeling a thing. Lily once was so kind, so innocent. Now, she was just a pitiful person with nothing left. Let go, I said coldly. Bob, I'm begging you. Lily cried even harder. I shook off her hand without hesitation and walked away. Later, I heard Henry was caught by the police before he could board a ship. The amount involved was massive, and I heard he was sentenced to life. As for Lily, for drugging me, spreading rumors and abuse of power, she was jailed for 3 years with multiple charges. Her company, for various reasons, eventually went bankrupt. The money Henry swindled, I took back what was mine from the cops. The rest I donated to charity. This incident made me quite famous, and with my core skills, I was snapped up by a major company as a manager overseeing a team of over 100 people. Although life is still busy, at least now I finally have a life that truly belongs to me.